So this one is called sum28, array2. So we're given an array of integers and we return true if the sum of all the 2's in the array is exactly 8. So my idea here is to have a variable which keeps track of the 2's added, right? And essentially I'm going to call that sum28. And we're going to use a for loop, obviously, to look at each element referenced by its index. And we'll have certain restraints or logic within the for loop itself. And we'll say, well, if any given element referenced, of course, by its index is equal to 2, then we will sort of add 2. We will add 2 to sum28. And that would represent the new sum28. Now, of course, we'll use the accumulator pattern to actually keep adding 2 each and every time we're in the statement itself. And after it's all said and done, I'm sure we can just return sum28 or return whether or not sum28 equals 8. So I'll say I'll kind of show you what I mean here. So we have we'll have sum28 equals 0, and if we actually want to use the for loop to actually traverse through the array before we get into this, nums.length, oops, and we'll increment I by 1 each time, and we'll say if nums of I is equal to 2, then we will essentially take sum28 and we will use the accumulator pattern to add 2 onto it so that each and every time it's called, it will add 2 onto what it was before, which was, of course, we're assuming a value of 2. And so after it's all said and done, we'll essentially just, we can say, well, if sum28 is equal to 8, then we can return true, else false. Now, a couple notes here. We could have just said else return false. We could have done this. We could have done something like this. Or we could have just removed the braces altogether, because we know if we have one statement, then we don't have to have braces. Or if we're returning the result of one statement, we could just return the statement itself, or the condition itself, rather. And that would, of course, get us the same result here, which is all greens. Now, what you could have done instead of doing this is you could have said, well, you could have scrapped the whole thing here, and you could have said you could just have sum, right? Sum28. I guess you could still have sum28 as your variable. You could say, well, if you're in here, if you're in this if statement, then nums of I is equal to 2. So you could just take sum and equate it to sum plus nums of I, knowing that nums of I is in fact 2. So that the next time it comes down here, it'll take what it was before, which was, of course, 2 or a multiple of 2, and then add it on to the 2 that it has now, which is, of course, nums of I. And you would still essentially just get cannot find symbol sum. Yeah, I mean, so you'd essentially just get the same answer, more or less.